It's over, Chad. Ben Shapiro is officially a traitor.
I think that Kevin really screwed things up last week when he decided to inject himself into this controversy with his vociferous defense that contained some rather charged language. I think he's doing the right thing by pointing out the obvious, which is that if somebody glosses on the air, that person probably should not be associated with a conservative think tank, and that everyone should have a duty to say that that is a bad thing to do. So I'm grateful to Kevin for doing that. I think it's a very good thing that he did that. The real issue here is I think that...
I mean, you know what? Ben Shapiro's got a point. Tucker Carlson should have went up to him and asked him if he has permission to have Nick Fuentes on the podcast.
Tucker Carlson's morphing from, I would say, a very edgy right-wing political figure on Fox News, but certainly within the mainstream, into a conspiracist, a person who ideologically launders anti-Semitism, who ideologically launders all sorts of anti-Americanism on his show, and then airs it for the public to hear with interviews like the ones he did with Nick Fuentes, which was essentially a massage of Nick Fuentes. You know, I think that took a lot of people by surprise, probably including Kevin.
The Washington Free Beacon obtained and posted video of yesterday's Heritage Foundation staff meeting where Roberts apologized for how he's handled Tucker's conversation with Nick Fuentes. Here's part of what Roberts had to say.
Wait a second, doesn't that sound a little familiar? The elite class of a political party forces their talking heads to apologize for things they said. Doesn't that sound a little bit like, I don't know, the left?
I didn't know much about this Fuentes guy. I still don't, which underscores the mistake. I can tell you with a clear conscience and not making any excuses that those were my intentions, to fix all of that. And obviously I didn't. I made them worse.
We reached out to the Heritage Foundation for comment about the video. We were referred to Kevin Roberts' social media post from yesterday. What's your reaction? And let me just note that Nick Fuentes has been fairly notorious for years now, including when he dined with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago.
Based.
I mean, I think that's true, but I think that really in order to experience the full wonders of the Nick Fuentes catalog, you really do have to spend some time going through the receipts. I did that earlier this week on my show.
And it backfired on you horribly, little bro. Literally everybody hated that video because you were using a tactic of the left's playbook by showing Nick's most disturbing clips and trying to paint him like a bad guy, while in reality he was just joking the entire time.
And the truth is that most people don't watch politics all that granularly. Even people who are in politics don't spend a lot of time on sort of the fringe edgelord right, the way that Fuentes is. And so the sort of mainstreaming, the popularization and normalization of Fuentes by Carlson is significantly more important than just Fuentes' existence, obviously. It was a seminal moment, I think, when it comes to the right's decision as to whether Tucker himself is a source of truth or whether he is a destructive force inside conservatism.
So one of the things you've noted is that...
And I, Ben Shapiro, will be the arbiter on deciding who's allowed in the conservative party. Okay, Tucker?
It isn't so much, your problem isn't so much that Tucker Carlson had Fuentes on his show, but that he didn't push back at all on the anti-Semitic, pro-Joseph Stalin rhetoric, etc. I just wonder, last week at a Turning Point event, Vice President J.D. Vance was asked by a student about an anti-Semitic falsehood, this crazy notion that Judaism openly supports the persecution of Christians. It's not true, but J.D. Vance was asked about it. Instead of pushing back or correcting the questioner, he said this.
There are some significant theological disagreements between Christians and Jews. My attitude is, let's have those conversations. Let's have those disagreements when we have them. But if there are shared areas of interest, we ought to be willing to do that too.
Yeah, tell him. Yo, can I get a WJD Vance 2028 in the comments below? Always cooking that boy is.
What did you think of that?
You know, obviously in a vacuum, I think that answer is fine. I think his response to the question, which was asked, as you say, in a tremendously anti-Semitic way, the idea that Jews are persecutors of Christians is an absurd contention. Obviously, I would have preferred more from the vice president, but I think the broader problem here is, again, that you have an enormous number of young people who are engaging with true white supremacist, anti-Jew content and are taken in by it, and there do need to be more voices pushing back on that.
Ben Shapiro, we thank you for your voice. Thank you so much.
All right, so obviously, like the whole white this thing, obviously don't do that, right? At the same time, I can at least recognize why a lot of white people, especially white youth, have been relating to Nick Fuentes because for the last decade, they've been getting shit on by the mainstream media, and almost everybody in pop culture tell them that they're toxic, tell them that they're bad, and finally, here comes a guy that tells them, no, you guys are based, everybody else is the asshole, it's time to band together and unite. And because of how far the pendulum swung left, it's gonna swing significantly right right now. And that's probably another reason why Tucker is getting so friendly with Nick. He foresees that the conservative party, or at least a big portion of it, are going to become massive Nick Fuentes supporters. So he's going to get ahead of the curve, garner those fans into his audience, ultimately making him more successful. And Ben is going to continue to bleed subscribers as he has been for the last few months. Alright, so now we have Ben Shapiro going on Megyn Kelly's show to further push his Tucker's evil agenda. And the way Megyn Kelly shuts bro down is pure cinema.
They are about the fact that Nick Fuentes is a truly horrifying person who believes truly horrifying things. And again, there is a reason why Charlie Kirk despised him. There's a reason why every mainstream political commentator has been highly critical of him.
Bro, who are all these bots in the crowd who are clapping?
It's the reason why these are not arguments. This is not a person who's making arguments. He is a loving troll. The reason this has come up in recent weeks is because Tucker, your guest last night, decided to have him on last week and to completely gloss him, in my opinion. And you can make up your own opinion as to what you think Tucker was doing during that interview, but I know what it looks like when Tucker Carlson decides to be an aggressive interviewer, when he decides to ask difficult questions of people. Tucker is eminently capable of doing that. He did it to Ted Cruz quite thoroughly.
Personally, I enjoyed that interview very much, but even I could admit that that was a glazing session. Tucker didn't really ask him too many serious questions. I'll concede on that point.
But he decided for any number of reasons, and I try not to attribute motivations to people, that he was going to treat Fuentes with kid gloves, that he was going to not ask him about any of the things that I've just mentioned, literally any of them, and to essentially normalize Fuentes, act as a sort of gateway drug, or as what I've called Tucker, as an ideological launderer of bad ideas over the last couple of years.
God forbid it. Nick Fuentes, the same dude who's been getting heavily censored for the last 10 years, finally gets a little bit of motion. God forbid a white boy gets a little bit of motion. And now we have Ben Shapiro crashing out because he is in fact the arbiter, the hall monitor of the conservative movement.
So, just to be clear, so the breakdown from the detente after Charlie was him interviewing Fuentes. Was that the next thing that happened that led to the blow up?
I mean, yes. I mean, I had not spoken a word. There
so it
were
wasn't
things
that he attacked you, or you had something?
No, I don't care about people attacking me, and I don't think Tucker cares about people attacking him. I mean, again, we're professionals. We're in a business where people comment on what we say publicly.
So I saw things go south between you and Tucker, at least from my vantage point, when you disagreed on Israel. That was obvious. And he was, let me just make my point.
Sure.
So he was saying things that were critical of Israel and our policy towards Israel. And then you did one show where you did what I thought you should have done if you disagreed with him, which clearly you did, which is say what you believe and what you think is factual and educate your audience on what you think are the real facts and give them the evidence for it. But you named him and it felt like an attack. And that, to me, was the beginning of the end, where he was like, now it's on. Because he felt personally attacked by you, as opposed to just challenging his idea. I think you named him and you kind of diminished him. And,
exactly.
He's an 800-pound gorilla, and if you mess with a gorilla, he's going to fight. And to me, that's where it started to go south. And because I remember that day being like, oh,
well,
I don't want to see this.
But here's the thing. I would urge everybody to go back and listen to the show that you're referring to, where I criticized Tucker's ideas, not Tucker as a person. Tucker then responded by claiming that I do not love America. That is a direct quote. That I do not love America because I was spending too much time covering the October 7th attacks, and then proceeded in January to then say that I wanted his children to die in a foreign war.
Now here's the thing, hall monitor Ben Shapiro. If Nick Fuentes is really such a horrible person who has horrible takes, then debate him. Debate him on your show, destroy him like how you destroyed all the liberals back in the day, and show us why Nick Fuentes is wrong. Until then, stop complaining, bro. Nick has been on so many shows on the conservative side. Why isn't he on your podcast? Why haven't you invited him to your show? But let me know what you guys think in the comments.